C2C threads really started from the idea that we had a lot of textiles that were coming into GIRO that didn't get sold on the shelves, and so therefore they ended up going, first of all, they went off through a charity that would take them to get bundled up and basically sent overseas to Matumba markets. Then during COVID, what we ended up having to deal with was the fact that that charity no longer took those textiles. And so we said, we've got a lot of textiles that we need to figure out what to do with so that they don't go to the landfill. How can we reuse them? And in many ways, rather than see them as waste, see them as a resource to be able to make different projects out of, whether it be clothes or pillows or whatever ideas that people might have for what the textiles that would be going to the landfill, what we could be doing with them instead.
What I start with is I take out the zipper, cut it straight down. So we cut the waistband off, and then I unpick it, press it, and make the strips for the front. My name is Judy Fisher, and I'm one of the makers from the Relove Local C2C project. I'm a seamstress by trade for just about 50 years. My shop was dressmaking, alterations, and repairs, so I did a lot of repairs, and I just love remaking. I don't throw anything away, so I come from a very Scottish mother that could be sized down or and then those get joined into a circle and the bottom done. So they had a survey on upcycling and what you did with your waste and stuff. And I mean, I've always looked at single-use products and think, hold on. So then I saw they had the contest, and I thought, well, I've got a few ideas, so I entered it and was one of the winners. Entered it with the everything cloths, and it's just going from there. I love it. It's my dream job. One of our totes is done with waistbands and hems, all joined where the stripes are in the front. Some are done with cut strips. I put the strips together. I cut out from the legs using usually one of the side seams or the inseam. Take one of the pockets and put it on the lining to tie it all in together. Most of them have the lining on the strap, and one side is the denim and one side is the lining. So when you do flip them, because they are reversible, you still get it all tied in together. The crew at GIRO put aside stuff that can't be resold. It's either got a hole or a stain or just outdated or stuff that they've tried to sell and it's sat there for a while. And they wash it and give it to me, put it in my tote. And it comes here. I take a look at it. Toweling is obviously everything cloths, but the cotton prints can be anything. So usually with cotton prints, I remove the damaged part. And then if it's big enough to do the linings for the totes, I'll start with that and I'll do a couple of totes. Like say we have a sheet that's nice and big. And then when it gets down, or I've done quite a few of them like that, I'll go to the big bowl covers and go down from there to the small. Then if I have strips wide enough for the everything cloths, I'll do 4 to 6 everything cloths, because that's usually the batch. And then now we've added the scrunchies. If it's a softer fabric and suitable for scrunchies, it gets cut into strips, because usually I have a long strip down the side. And from there, if it's 7 inches, it goes down into the buntings. And I make the flags for the buntings. So I pretty much use it all. My goal is using as much as you can. And what I don't use, I use as stuffing. So I use right down to scraps if I can. So I mean, it's amazing what you can reuse. I just love the fact that everyone is different. You know, I think it's much more fun than going into a store and saying, okay, well, I want that collection because it all goes together so well. I make my own collections.
For me as a maker, I just see so many of these textiles as opportunities. And I get so many ideas for things.
So these are old Carhartts that have been donated to GIRO that somebody brought because they couldn't get the stains out of the knees. So I took them home and I have this woodblock stamp from India, and I have what is called ferrous sulfate, which is made from rusty nails and vinegar. And so I just made basically a black dye and then stamped this design onto my pants. And so it's totally given them a new look and a new life, and I love them, and they're one of a kind, and this is what you can do.
As a maker, it's also made me rethink, what am I producing? Am I just adding to the amount of stuff that's already in the world? So it's made me become very intentional about what I'm making and why. As makers, I feel like we need to be more and more conscious of production. What are we producing it for? Are we just feeding into a model that is completely unsustainable, or are we leading by example?
So the decisions around products are based on, one, does it use the material we have? Does it use that cotton or does it use that polyester? Does it make sense in terms of the time it takes to make? If something takes 20 hours to make and you want to pay your makers a livable wage, then you have to be able to sell it for slightly more than what that costs. That's another piece of it. Another piece is from an environmental perspective. Does it make sense? For example, the unpaper towels or the everything cloths, they are replacing something that would have been thrown out. The bowl covers, again, the same thing. Tote bags, so you don't need to use plastic bags. I think another piece of it is also just the visual that people look at and go, wow, that's really nice. And it's environmentally smart. So it's kind of the combination of those two that in the end, that's how the decisions are made.
Oh, my name's Sue, and I'm a retired nurse. And since retirement, I've been a quilter and a crafter. I saw the ad in the paper for the come and get a bag of stuff and bring back what you make out of the stuff. I've always been maker of things, you know. I started little with quilting with my aunts and grandmothers. And so the project was just something that I've always been doing. I take a bag of stuff and say, oh, I can make this out of it and I can make that out of it. I grew up always sort of crafting. My parents were also, they grew up during the Depression. So there was always, you never threw anything out if it had a use. And everything I took, I made into something, and what was left, I made into something else. And what was left got made into something else until I was down to the stuffing for the dog beds. And so everything got used. I didn't take back anything to the depot that was a rag or a leftover. Everything got used into something, and that's how I've always worked, and that's how this project really interested me, is no fabric to the landfill. What I took from the fabric was a number of pairs of jeans. I took a dozen t-shirts, and I made a t-shirt quilt out of that. And from the leftover t-shirts, I made a child's dresses. And from the leftover denim, I made the dog beds. And all the scraps that I had that didn't fit for something of those that I made, I used in the stuffing for the dog beds. Because they needed a stuffed application, because of course they're getting the shredder. So the dog beds just were a natural fit.
people think, oh, that's easy. The biggest obvious ones are probably holes and stains. That's the first thing you look for. You also have to look for thinning areas, like especially with sheets and stuff. Usually the centers are quite thin. They're going to rip with any little bit of help. And the grains, because they've been washed so many times, they've usually shrunk, and they don't always shrink matching grain. With our products too, we're using 2 different kinds of fabric. Well, with the everything cloths, we use a toweling on the bottom, and we use the cotton prints on the top. Those are 2 totally different ways, so you get shifting. So if you don't have a dual feed foot, you won't make it through them. The biggest thing I find is the grains, because even with the bowl covers, you think, okay, that's on the bias, it's not a big deal. It'll stretch more one way than it will on the other, so you've got to get them matching. But it's all stuff you get used to looking for, and you go through the drill. Like I say, everyone is different, so I think, oh, okay, this is going to be the challenge for this one.
We had this discussion at one of our meetings about dog beds. The jeans that you're getting, they're being recycled, are not your very best jeans in your very best shape. So some of the things I struggle with is how much grunge is too much grunge. 1/3 of it has got a little grungy or a little less desirable fabric in it, but that's what you get when you're getting recycled. It's all, I mean, it's all clean. It's all been washed, and so it's definitely clean. It's just got that, the marks of wear that are the story of old jeans, and that's where I struggle is between what I think is okay because the integrity of the fabric is still fine.
It's never a dull moment. Like, they're all different. The variety, the satisfaction of how they turn out.
Oh, you always get something different. Although the focus for me has been the denim dog beds, I like the thought of it. It's great to be doing something that's useful to the community.
One of my biggest things is I go into a fabric store and I can't decide because I like them all. And this way I am given specific things. I don't have a choice. I have a choice what goes together, but I don't have a choice as to, oh, do I want pink or blue, or, oh, okay, I got blue today, so that's that you can go out and buy. But they make much more interesting if you cut a few legs of pants up or the sleeves of a shirt. And I mean, the part of using up, when I saw a program about the stuff we shipped to China and they didn't want it anymore, and most of the time it's either burnt or, that sends shivers, like, no, it's a waste, There's so much you can do with, I mean, yes, there are thin spots that you can't use and stuff like that, but it can always stuff something. I find it very infectious. If you like doing it, check it out and do it. I think it's a great program that they're having, that they're going to train people to and help them, because I think a lot of the sewing trade, and I mean, like I say, the knitting and crocheting and stuff is getting lost. I think it's great that the young people are wanting to get more involved in it, and the fact that they're going to have the maker space where people can come in for the machines. Machines are expensive, so if you're only doing it occasionally, you don't need to go out and buy the best top quality machine. If they have it there, you can see if you like it. and how much you're going to do it. If you're not going to use it very much, then fine. If you are, then go out and buy your own machine. So I think it's, again, going to be win-win for everybody. And the fact that they come up with this, I think it's groundbreaking. Every community should have the program.
The Cradle to Cradle Textiles Initiative, the C2C makerspace. It's the only makerspace I've been able to find that is specific to textile circular economy. So dealing specifically with what's considered waste.
The different things that we've decided will happen in that space include shredding. A core part of the makerspace is for makers. It's for the community to come and to learn how to make things with textile. It could be dyeing with eco dyeing. It could be that you would be learning how to weave. So the idea in the makerspace is learning. And the other thing it's going to be there for is to support entrepreneurs, and it gives them a place to go that they might have access to better tools, to better machines, to be able to make the products that they want to. Another aspect of the makerspace is, of course, the workshops. Another thing that the makerspace would be used for would be making some of the products that C2C Threads is selling.
Being on a small island, I think it's going to make a difference in even the stuff I probably put through 500 to 600 totes this year. So that's 500 to 600 pairs of jeans we've saved from the land, because it takes one pair of jeans for each tote. The everything cloths, one batch is 6 towels, and I've probably done about 500 batches. I love doing it. And I just love the fact that, like, I've heard people go in there and say, I donated that dress and that's, it's now a bowl cover. They just, one lady, she had a favorite tablecloth, and she walked in and she saw the bowl covers, and I guess it had gotten a stain on it, but I'd made a bunch of bowl covers. She bought every size, because she says to her friend, she says, my plates and dishes match it. So she said, this is going to be great. So, it's little things like that you just, yeah, okay, maybe I'm in the right business, and I'm saving the planet one stitch at a time, right?